Hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda.
And you're listening to
Girls Nerd Out. Hello, everyone. It is Amanda and Andrea.
Hello.
And we are incredibly excited to talk to you about Rings of Power Season 2, Episode 2, which is action-packed. I say just as much as the first episode.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Kept my attention the entire time. Love that. And I didn't feel like it had like really any like lulls or anything like that. We got a lot of information.
We did. And it's a very interesting beginning because you see like the dwarves.
Oh.
Like they're like in the markets, it looks like. And I still say Diza and Durin are my relationship goals.
Oh yeah, they're great.
They're so cute. The last two episodes, they're just really cute. Go
Did
ahead.
you think I was just gonna ask you, like the first thing we see is Khazad-dûm. Like we see the outside. Is that not visually stunning as hell?
They did a
Like,
very good job with this.
I mean, they really did. Like now I'm not questioning like where's the budget going? Where's the budget going? Okay, that was just beautiful. Like when you watch Lord of the Rings and you hear Gimli talk about Khazad-dûm, it's really hard to imagine because it's all, it's broken and abandoned and it's basically a tube. This is just so beautiful. Inside and out, it's just amazing. And we have your couple goals and they're at the market.
Yeah.
Which is cute.
And then all of a sudden you see like stuff falling from the ceiling,
Yeah.
like everything. Well, from the top of the mount. Well, they're underneath the mount. You know what I mean? It's just all falling down, and it took me a minute to realize what was happening, but I was just like, this is sad.
Yeah, Deeza notices before other people, I would assume because she's really in tune with like the vibrations and
Yeah.
she's trying to like scream and warn people because it is an earthquake that just starts breaking all kinds of stuff. Big chunks of rock fall. And of course, Durin is trying to protect her. She's trying to yell and protect other people. And I found something kind of interesting. It shows another really stunning scene of a giant piece of rock break a bridge, and the bridge looked just like the one in Lord of the Rings where Gandalf fights the Balrog. And I thought that was really cool for continuity because obviously, same place, so the bridges would look similar. And it just made me think of that scene and Fly, You Fools. And then he falls. I was like, oh my God, it looks just like that, which makes
Yeah,
sense.
it did. It was really cool.
Well, they're in a bad spot now because of that earthquake. Their lights are out because the mirrors are broken and some of the shafts are closed. And so they're not going to have a way to grow crops. So they're
Nope.
already in a bad place.
Yep. We see
Okay.
Galadriel.
Yep.
She's talking to her brother's like statue.
I guess memorial? That would probably be the best way to say it.
I thought it was really cool, very detailed, and sweet, but then you realize it's a dream or a vision or something. I was very curious if Sauron, like can mess with people's dreams because she could hear black speech. And I'm like, how is she hearing this? I mean, unless she already knew he could speak that before, I'm not sure. But I was just like, this is crazy. I liked the dream. And then she touches the ring immediately after, which I thought was pretty cool.
It's kind of like a warning right now because
Yeah.
she sees Celebrimbor and it's Celebrimbor talking to her, but it's kind of like what you would expect Sauron to say. And it's very creepy, and it actually mentions 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. I don't think it's necessarily him being able to like enter her dreams. I think the ring is giving her a warning, I think.
That's probably what's happening.
They're having a little bit of a war planning meeting.
Apparently they do know about Adar, and they know about all, everything he's doing with his orcs. They say Sauron sees himself not as a master of
Oh
a
yeah.
barren waste, but of all Middle Earth. I liked the battle meeting. It was interesting. I wrote that Gil-galad looked foxy.
That's your man. That's Gilgadad. And I'm kind of curious to know how they found out about Adar. I don't know, but I would assume they have spies and people that watch. So after Galadriel has that vision, which I think she knows is a warning or a premonition, like she
Yes.
tries to tell them, and Gil-galad is like, a region is protected by two rivers with miles of curtain wall of dwarven stone, 10 foot thick, and basically saying, you don't have to worry about it. And you could tell she's like, nah, that's not what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about the walls. So I think her ring is giving her pieces of things that she needs to know, needs to be probably terrified
Well,
about.
what she says, like, no, not because he does. It's not armies, but like rings, and
Hmm.
the way that Gil-galad covers his ring.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because they don't know. I mean, they're still figuring out what all the rings do, why they do it, and how dangerous they could possibly be. So, yeah, I probably would
You would think
too.
Sauron would be. I mean, I know Sauron's like this big sorcerer, right? But
Mm,
what I thought was interesting is that she says, he knows my mind and I know his. And you would think that he'd be kind of freaked out about that, but he doesn't seem to be.
yeah, I don't fully understand it, but in this episode, it said that basically once you've become friends with Sauron, then he can see in your head.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's just for the show or if that's something he's always been able to do, but it's like once you put your trust in him, then he kind of has like a pipeline to your brain, which that's creepy.
Well, there's a scene at some point with Galadriel and Elrond, and she tells him that I can't let him in again. And she like has a memory of him and her sitting down, and they're like looking at each other, and that's where I felt like they both kind of liked each other. So
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, she still has a bad.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why he's going to be able to communicate with her because she does. And I think people are going to be mad about that, but in all honesty, if she didn't, it would be weird. They spent a lot of time together. They
They
did.
practically almost. I mean, they've never kissed, but it
It
was
was close.
it was a kiss moment. So that's why I was like, okay, I don't know why this isn't happening, but it's fine. I guess I'm just gonna have to dream about it.
I
But
don't know. Honestly, I don't know. If
it
she
might.
meets him again, I don't know what she'll do. I really don't.
I don't know. The way she reacts to Sauron later in the trailer, she screams about it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think she's got a lot of different emotions going on. And she's got the ring that's giving her vision. So yeah, she's kind of going through it. Oh
So
yeah, next we go to where Celebrimbor is, which I believe it's pronounced a,
a
a
reg
region.
a region, yeah, I
A
think you're right.
region. I'm sure somebody will correct us on that. That's my joke.
Well,
Again,
okay.
give us a break. We're doing the best we can. It's fine.
Well, we know that Halbrand is there because he's trying to get in touch with
Yep.
Celebrimbor, and he's been left out there. And like the little, I think her name is Miranda. Um,
Yeah.
she says he wishes you good fortune on your journey because she's basically like you have to go,
Yeah.
but he
Bye.
won't go.
No, he's just like, no, I'm gonna hang out. And then he's so damn sneaky. He could heal the stuff on his back,
Yep.
but he on purpose turns his back so that she sees that he's injured, and then she goes and tells Celebrimbor, I think he's hurt. And I'm like, oh wow, he
Uh,
really is like 5 steps ahead.
yeah, and I thought that was very manipulative, but I liked it. It was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, and then we do see the messengers at some point dead on the ground and rotting, and
Who's
something
dragging him
takes them.
away?
Who
Yeah.
I'm like, clearly, because you know how like Galadriel's people were like, oh, he doesn't have any allies. Clearly, he does.
Yeah, and I
So
was wondering, do you remember when like okay, so he's talking to Adar and he's like, "Let my people go," and then in exchange for information, and Adar says he did let those people go. So I guess it's them, but I don't know how many there are and how much they know.
I'm not sure. I'm sure we're gonna see them,
Yeah.
whoever they are again, because I felt really bad for those dead elves.
Oh, yeah, and they looked really bad. It was pretty brutal, and then it's creepy because you can't see who's dragging them away. But then it closes in on the message that Celebrimbor was supposed to have.
Yeah, that poor guy.
Uh-huh.
I do feel bad for him.
He's also got it bad, but we'll get into that in a minute.
So Saruman, who I'm assuming is Saruman, we go to like Western Rune or whatever.
Yeah,
Karaskar. I'm not sure if that's how you say it.
I'm not either. It looks like either Karaskar or Karaskar, and it just says it's Western Rune. And then we see a bunch of moths. I think it's moths.
Yeah, and acolytes. Apparently, he has acolytes.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got his own little cult that does stuff for him.
Yeah, it's really strange. It's a completely different vibe from things that we've seen before, which gives you like this. Okay, this is kind of how I thought about it. Rune is so different. I kind of felt like it's when you read about Dorne, like how Dorne is so completely different from other parts of Westeros. I feel like Rune is very different than other parts of Middle Earth. Did you kind of get that vibe?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
That
like
whole
because they talk
area,
different. Yeah,
Rune is very different. I felt like it's very interesting.
I kind of wonder if Dorne might be the Rune of Westeros. It wouldn't shock me. They talk different, and uh, it's different kind of magic than we've seen because I guess she's one of the acolytes. She lets them cut her palms and she bleeds on the
Yeah.
floor. And then the moths start to circle, and I didn't know what the hell was going to happen.
Yeah, and then we do see one of the people that was looking for Gandalf. Well, I mean, that she thought he was, or they, I'm not sure, thought that he was actually Sauron, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you were right. He didn't kill everybody. And it's Mance Radar. If anybody knows who Mance Radar is from Game of Thrones,
Mm-hmm.
he is playing what we believe is Saruman. So,
Yeah, I mean, okay, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But it's really weird because okay, so the acolyte, the only name I looked at it, they're called the Dweller. That's it. That's all it says. So the Moths then form into
yeah,
a
that chick
person.
the person that he didn't kill.
All right, now I gotta tell you this. You're gonna love it. It just goes along with what we've been saying. Okay, I noticed this. All right, so who we think is Saruman is talking to the moth person, and okay, he says what tidings from the White Wings, which I don't really know what that means, but apparently she travels and watches. Well, she turns into moths, so she sees things. Okay, so he calls Gandalf the Istar. I thought that was interesting, but here's the best part. He asked her about the halflings. Okay,
Yep.
in Lord of the Rings, there's only one person who says, "Bring me the halflings unspoiled," and that's Saruman. That's
Yeah.
Saruman. Nobody else calls them the halflings except Saruman. And then he actually tells Gandalf later on, or is it before? It's when Gandalf is at Isengard. Your love of the halflings has blinded you.
I
So
remember that.
that's a freaking that is such a clue because he doesn't say Harfoots. He doesn't say. He just says halflings. I'm like, that's Saruman. That's
I like what
Saruman.
he says. Yeah, I like what he says. He says we must reach him before he, intends to harness his powers. And then he
Mm-hmm.
says, perhaps the blood I wasted before me should have been spent in a more useful way. Like it was just, it was interesting how like his servants don't seem to be doing anything that he's been wanting them to do. So it's just, he's like very upset. And the stranger, so the person that was following the stranger with like the gold skull
Yeah.
mask, he was there, and he's basically he's like, I think it was interesting how he's like, well, I'll get him. And and Saruman's just like, what do you mean? What could you do that my people couldn't? And he goes, well, I'm just gonna kill, the people, his people that he's with. So he's gonna kill Nori. He's gonna threaten Nori.
Well, here's the trippy part. So I think the guy's name is Brank, I think.
Yeah.
All right, he says this really quick, but it's real interesting. He says to Saruman, heal the curse upon our flesh, and I will bring you the Istar in chains. They have on masks because they have some sort of blight, something wrong with their flesh. So that's how he's got them like enthralled and doing his bidding. Is he's told them that he can heal them, which I'm sure he probably caused it. But I thought that was incredibly interesting. I'm sure we'll find out much more about that. But they're not blindly following him. They've got something wrong, and that's why they have masks on. And I have a feeling under those masks is not pretty.
Probably not.
No. Oh yeah, so then we go to Nori, Poppy, and the Stranger Gandalf.
I like that um they're trying to like name him,
Yeah.
and he kept saying like, no, none of these like feel like, and but I like what he says. He says, no one can give you a name. When you hear it spoken, your heart will glow.
So like you'll just know it. Man, that's Gandalf. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
there's just
Well, the coolest thing about it is, and I don't know why some people don't notice this, but it's totally fine. So they need water.
yes.
And Nori is like, he's afraid he'll lose control again without a gand, which is
Yep.
a staff. Oh, I don't know. Is that a clue? Could it be a gand? Come on. Yeah, no, it's a blue wizard. He's just looking for a gand. God, come on.
What I found interesting is the guy with the gold mask. He did find their trail, and he did
Mm-hmm.
find them, but they like hid really fast. Well, not Gandalf, because Gandalf was like trying to get stuff, and he's like, oh, they're already gone. And I'm like, those Harfoots really know how to hide. It's funny.
Ooh, yeah. Like it, you know what it almost seemed like
What?
when Sam and Frodo are at the Black Gate and they use the elven cloaks to cover themselves and they actually just look like a rock because, elf magic. The way that the Harfoots hid, it was really good and they did it fast. But then I got to thinking about it. Like, they're nomadic and they've probably seen all kind of stuff, so I bet they're really good at hiding fast.
And I like when they fight and hide too. I think that's really cool. Um,
Yeah.
but so basically, they're like, well, we have to take a different route, and it was interesting because before that scene, Gandalf's like, well, we either take the one that doesn't have any water, or we take the one that will die from heat. So they're going to take the one that they die from heat because they want to get away from these people. So
Yeah, it's like he's like, but then they don't have a choice
no,
because they can't. There's too many of those other people with a mask on, and they really want to find him.
yeah, nobody goes off the trail and nobody walks alone. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Next, we go back to Khazad-dûm. Everybody's using lanterns because the mirrors are broken, the shafts are closed, and their crops are dying. It's sad.
what I thought was like the gardens have withered, which that really makes me sad.
Yeah.
And then they say these two women are talking, and they say there's rumors of dark omens across all the Dwarven realms, which I found interesting. And then some say the mountain was cursed when the prince let in an elf, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think it's because of Elrond.
Basically, Durin thinks that it's a curse because you kicked the elf out. I love the fact that the person that's gossiping to Deeza, like, so you're gossiping about her husband? What did you think she was gonna say? Of course she's gonna turn around and be like, "Excuse me? Excuse me?" And like she basically tells her, "Yeah, when you start a rumor, then things happen and it gets worse and people freak out." But I was just like, Deeza's not gonna let you talk about her husband.
They love each other. They're just goals, I tell you. And she's a really good actress. I'm like obsessed with her character.
She's great. I mean, she goes and talks to King Durin, Durin's dad, Durin. It's like Aegon's, and she just tells him the truth because he's like, "Are you gonna make me say it?" And she's just like, "What? You want to know about your grandkids?" Because she
Oh yeah.
thinks the standoff that they have is completely ridiculous.
They miss tugging at your beard.
Yep. And I mean, because she's not afraid to tell the truth. She's told both of them they're being silly by not talking, which
And
is
I
a
like
very
that
Deeza thing.
well, I also like that she says the king is deaf to his own son. That was really cool. And then he says stubbornness equals strength to some dwarves. I'm like, yeah, but you guys are both really ridiculously stubborn.
Really, really stubborn.
The singing to the stones was a really cool scene too.
They say a fire mountain far south awoke and it collapsed the sun shafts. So that's Mordor,
Yeah.
which makes sense because they're not that far apart.
No.
And so obviously the constant eruption of Mordor is making like earthquakes and aftershocks for Khazad-dûm. So Deeza and her two friends, she tries to find a path so that they can fix the mirrors, and it doesn't
Yeah, it
work.
closes.
Yeah. And did you notice the dwarves are like getting more irritable and fighting?
They were fighting Prince Durin.
And apparently, because you just wonder, well, why don't they just go up and get, crops and stuff? It's said really fast, but King Durin won't let them go up. Like he's keeping them in the mountain. So I thought that was really interesting. So that's probably, I don't know, that's probably, I guess, like part of like their culture, or maybe, I don't know, maybe he thinks like the outside is dangerous, maybe.
I'm sure we'll see something in the next episode or the episode after that, because like their food source is going really low, and like the when Deeza feeds Durin, he asks where the kids are, and she's like, well, they're not going to eat, and he goes, well, I don't blame them. This rye tastes like last year's bread,
Yeah.
and she's like, it is last year's bread.
Yeah, it is. I was just thinking, I'm trying to remember which one it is, but in one of the movies, it said basically that the dwarves, do their own thing and they're not going to help. So, and that's in the future. So I think it's basically the longer time goes on, the more the dwarves just don't interact with anyone on the outside and they just keep to themselves.
So we already kind of mentioned a little bit about Elrond and Gladriel, but what I do like is that she wants him, because she's being sent to where Calibrimbar is to go deal with him, because they haven't heard from him, and they're very curious what's going on. And so she's going to go check it out with some people, and she wants Elrond to come with. She mainly wants him there because she may be vulnerable to deception. And clearly you are. So and Halbrand did exactly what he was supposed to, and she fell for it right away because he made himself exactly what she needed to be. So
Exactly. And I like what Elrond says. He doesn't hold back at all. He tells her, "You have all chosen to be his collaborators."
Yep.
I mean, he knows the selfishness of the elves could lead to peril. He knows it. And even though, yes, the rings did, obviously bring back the power and the energy, heal the tree, he's still side eyeing it. Like, yeah, but what's going to be the cost of it? Which I think is really cool. That's very Elrond. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And he actually tells her leave. He's like, get out of here. He's just very disappointed, very. But then he does exactly what Elrond should do. He goes to talk to Círdan again. I loved that scene. It was beautiful, and I loved how he explained the rings.
Yeah, he says, we do not fully yet understand these rings, but look at the power they exert.
Okay, so this was probably my favorite scene. Random, but it was. Círdan, he's super wise. So he asked Elrond, would you cast Rumil's verses into the flame because the poet was a drunkard?
And Elrond
It,
just is like, well.
yeah, because he's trying to explain that the rings are going to be what you make of them. Because he knows that's why Elrond is so torn. And by the way, the background of this scene is absolutely gorgeous. The colors, it's so
Yeah.
pretty. And then this is interesting to me because he tells Elrond, judge the work and leave the judgment concerning those who wrought it to the judge who sees all things, which is so given Christianity. That's so Tolkien with
There's
the
a lot of
Christian
Christianity
undertones.
vibes in this episode. I mean, especially with at the end.
Oh, yeah. And I fully believe that the reason why Elrond is so wise when we see him in the Third Age at Rivendell is because he learned a lot of stuff from Círdan. It makes sense. And
Yeah.
then what did you think about the scene where he puts his hand in the water and the fish are drawn to the ring?
Yeah, that's when he talks about the ring's power. I like it. It was cool.
Okay, so he puts his hand in and the fish are drawn to the ring. He's basically saying, look at this power. Then he takes his hand out and the fish jump towards the ring and one jumps on a rock. And he takes the fish and puts the fish back in the water. And it's basically a lesson. And the lesson is this is power. It can either be good or bad. It depends on who has it and what you do with it,
Yeah.
which is going to make Elrond understand that those rings need to be with the elves where they
Yeah.
can do something good with it. But he doesn't need to just be like just hate the rings and want them destroyed.
Yeah, he says, before darkness spreads across Middle Earth and blinds us all. Like, I just really liked that.
Yeah, I think he knows, like, yeah, we need these rings because some stuff is coming. So we go back to Gandalf, and we're going to keep calling him Gandalf.
I'm Gandalf.
When they're getting the water and that bell starts ringing, I swear to God, I got more nervous than them.
I was so nervous. And did you notice the flag with the eye on it?
Yes, I want to talk about that. I know things. I don't drink and I know things. Okay, get this. Okay, what we're talking about, Gandalf's passed out because they haven't had water. They find water and they're trying to wake him up. Okay, so the people that are working for Saruman, which some people don't think it's Saruman. Here's the thing. All right, I got these notes. Okay, so they have a flag, a banner that is black with a white eye.
Yeah.
Okay, so Saruman is Saruman the White. Okay, the Palantir that they have in Numenor, Saruman has one of those. Okay, so that's the white eye of Saruman. He uses the Palantir to see. all sorts of things. That's how he knows, like, where the stranger is and what they're doing and where he should send people. So I think that black banner with the white eye is Saruman, because later on in the Third Age, Saruman, as his sigil, he uses the white hand of Saruman. So this is the white eye of Saruman, and nobody can tell me any different.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Thank you. Thank you. That is a hill I am willing to die on, and I will be thrilled when I am proven right, because that is the thing people keep coming at me about. And I'm like, it's the white eye. Saruman the White. I'm just going to throw a party when I'm right.
Well,
I am. And thank you for supporting me, Andrea. I appreciate it.
oh yeah, and I like that. Gandalf found his staff, but the staff, I mean, unfortunately. Anyway, so like those people come and attack them, and then he uses his power to create this like storm, this like dust tornado thing that got rid of those people, but also he doesn't know how to control himself. So I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's the thing. He can control himself better because he does have the staff, aka Gand.
I'm Gandalf.
But he starts it, but he can't stop it. I felt so bad because Nori's gone.
Well, I'm sure they'll find each other again. It just sucks.
They will, but it's showing that he doesn't have control, and that's why Saruman, the Dark Wizard, says he needs to be found before he can harness his power, because he's starting to, but he can't. So he knows he's going to be super powerful.
We see Halbrand still outside waiting, and he's well, before that you see Celebrimbor talking about how he made, I forget exactly what he said he made, but he used like the last of the mithril to make it. It's really pretty, only can be seen by...
I know. You want me to tell you? I know. I'm excited. Okay. You remember when they show up at Khazad-dûm and Gandalf can't remember the word to say, and it's the doors that show up in the moonlight, and Frodo's actually the one that figures it out. That's the doors. That's the beginning of the doors. That's them.
That's really cool.
Yeah, he used the last bit of the mithril to start making the pattern, and those are going to be the doors of Durin.
Well, I like that, and of course, during that scene, you also see Halbrand just hanging outside, waiting and creepily looking up there.
Ooh, also, it's kind of meant to make you think about how the One Ring has like words around it that you can only see if you put it in flame.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of gives you like the same kind of magic, because one you can only see in moonlight, one you can only see in flame. It's kind of like, ooh. It kind of gives you the feeling like, I think our boy, I think he might be going down a dark path. But anyway.
Well, he's already, I mean, he'll be going there anyway, because he's already kind of, anyway. Celebrimbor, it starts to storm out or rain. Did he start that, do we think, or just is doing that?
Hell yeah, he did. Yes. Oh, hell yes.
I like that. So Celebrimbor comes down there and he's like, you have to leave. Like, you have to go. But Halbrand's like, wait, like, about, he mentions, like, haven't you, so you've heard about the rings then? And I'm like, I knew he was going to bring up the rings. And Celebrimbor is like, wait, what? They work? Like, of course. That gets his attention. It piques his interest because his rings worked.
He knows what to say.
What's interesting is he mentions, like, Galadriel didn't tell you, Gil-galad didn't tell you. Like, the last 2 episodes, he really tries to get it in his head that they don't care about him. You haven't heard from Galadriel? You haven't heard from Gil-galad? Okay.
He's playing him like a fiddle.
And he's like, that's just like an elf. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Like, so at the same time, he is making Celebrimbor trust him, while he's making the other ones seem like they're leaving him out. Like, he's manipulating the hell out of him. And I will say this. I think Halbrand knows Celebrimbor is gay, and he's playing on that. I
Oh yeah.
really do. I mean, and that's what some people are riled up about. Look, this is Sauron. If you think Sauron is not gonna play on whatever he can, he will. Yes.
Well, he's playing on like his emotions big time because, Galadriel hasn't talked to you. The High King is being neglectful. They came along and take whatever profits them the most. I wrote, this is the oldest trick in the book. I love it.
Oh, it is. And he tells him, he's like, we need to make rings for men. And then Celebrimbor's like, elves are not men. Men are covetous.
Yeah.
And he's like easing him in to making like the rings for men and also dwarves. And it's like, holy crap. Like, he's manipulating this guy in like 18 different ways at once. Your boyfriend's impressive. I'm just
I
saying.
love him. I love him.
Oh, and then
Um,
he makes Celebrimbor think he's a messenger of the Valar.
I like how he wants to break out his bottle and celebrate the rings first because he's like, I have a bottle from the first age.
Oh my god! Tell me that's not given. Hey, do you want to have a date? I'm sorry.
So cute.
It's so cute, and that Celebrimbor is the character that a lot of people have said. I mean, he's gay, but like it's just hinted at, and I have no problem with it at all. I really don't. It actually makes sense for his character.
Yeah, and like it's very interesting that he's putting so much focus on the fact that the rings of power is the last hope. So he's really trying to get him in there. And he's like, I don't believe that you're a messenger from the Valar. So then, he disappears. Well,
Yep.
first the doors open, and that was freaky. And then when he closes them, like he disappears, and he and then Celebrimbor breaks his bottle. That was really sad.
Yeah.
And then you hear this voice, right? Like, no, he goes out to his forge and he sees like the fire, like kind of come out,
Yeah.
and I wrote most of the speech down. That Sauron says, "I have walked through the dusts of the deserts of faraway lands in search of an artist possessing the craft to save all Middle Earth. A storm is coming. I can bring you the knowledge none other possesses. I can unlock your grandest abilities, and when our work is complete, never again will the world overlook you as the mere scion of Feanor, but forevermore, never. Oh wait, hold on. Did I say that? Yeah, but forevermore revere you, the Lord of the Rings, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. And it's basically given, I can make you famous.
Yep. I
And
can create you. I can make you the way you are. I can make you
yeah,
better. And he's Jesus. He looks like Jesus coming out of those.
yeah, yeah. So he's basically saying, like, I don't know. Now I've got Kanye West in my head. I made that bitch famous. So he's saying, like, I can make you known forever as the Lord of the Rings. And then he starts to ascend, and he has his palms out, and it's Jesus. It's Sauron Jesus.
He looks beautiful though. His hair, the little
Yep.
crown thing he's wearing, his outfit,
The
um,
background.
the background, and then I like how Celebrimbor like bows. I mean, I would, but
Hell yeah, I would. Because Celebrimbor, like, this is a messenger from the Valar, so obviously it's going to look like, heaven, because Valinor, heaven, God, whatever, all that. And Sauron just does it perfectly. Oh, talk about what he looks like.
it definitely looks like a Daemon Targaryen cosplay.
Yep. Look, it's true. Daemon
It's fun.
Targaryen is very popular, very. And what would Rings of Power want to do? Obviously, they know that there is, what do we call it? There's a Daemon drought right now. and
Yeah.
and there's thirst because of the Damon drought. And so they take Charlie and they give him the hair that Rhaegar should have had, and and um he he is cosplaying Daemon Targaryen, and I have no problem with it at all. But it is very obvious that they know bitches love Daemon.
Well,
It is what it is.
somebody even said the Rings of Power writers just sat in the room and had one idea: make Sauron hot. What would Sauron be if he was hot? Because the fandom would be like so confused. Like, he's evil, but like he's hot, and he's good at words, and he's good at, like, Sauron's really good at manipulating people, but look at all these fangirls, man. Like, that's what they did.
Okay, who's somebody that it doesn't always do the right thing, but he's hot?
Mm-hmm.
Your husband, Daemon MF Targaryen. And like,
Yep.
it's obvious, and it doesn't look. I'll say this. I'm sure Matt Smith gets a kick out of it. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm sure he is.
He's got a great sense of humor. So he's probably like, "Oh, look, we got Elf Damon now."
Yes, it's awesome. But I like that he basically is like, I am a sharer of gifts, and he says his name is Anatar, which I like.
Yeah, and Anatar, like, Halbrand isn't in like any of the books, but Anatar is. So that's his name, like in Tolkien's work. So I think
I
that's
haven't
cool.
heard anyone complain about Anatar yet, so that's good. They show Galadriel with Gilgalad, and he basically is like, you have a new mission. You're going to go to where Celebrimbor is with people. She's like, oh, thank you for reconsidering, because she thought she wasn't allowed to go without Elrond, but Elrond is going with, and he's not going with as like a mere mercenary. He's going as a leader, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of like, Elrond's going with you, and she's like, "Oh, great, I'm so glad." And he's like, "No, he's going to lead this." And I was like, "Ooh."
I wonder,
So
is it a test, or is it like he trusts him more than Galadriel?
he trusts him more than Galadriel because Elrond has been a constant. Galadriel has gone back and forth, up and down, like she's going through it, like she's currently in an arc. Elrond, when he's unsure, he goes to somebody that's, the wisest and, the most knowledgeable. Elrond has remained a constant, and I think that makes Gil-galad feel much better. It's good to have somebody that's still a skeptic because he's looking out for everybody.
I liked that. I thought Elrond's outfit was really cool too. So it'll be interesting to see. And then the very end of the episode, you see Prince Durin with his wife, and they get a knock on the door, and it's an invitation to go to greet Celebrimbor. And I know this is going to be about the rings, but I just think it's interesting that they sent it to Durin and not the king.
Yep.
So that was definitely
I think it goes to Durin and not King Durin, because Celebrimbor went with Elrond to meet Durin. So I'm sure Celebrimbor is like, yeah, no, this needs to go to the son. The son likes elves way better than the dad. So again, manipulation.
Manipulation is just all over the place, and I'm living it. And all I had to say was I really like the end music for all 3 of the episodes. I think it's really pretty. So
I agree. The music is beautiful. The backgrounds are beautiful. It's just a very stunning show to watch. Like, you can see this season where the money went, and it was well spent. I love that episode. I thought it was good. I'm gonna give that episode like literally 9.5 out of 10.
I give it 10 out of 10 because I enjoyed it, and Sauron, of course, was the best part of the entire episode, besides the dwarves storyline, and I liked his transition to Anatar. So
Oh yeah, that was fantastic. You know, the only reason I'm holding out my 10 out of 10 is I'm
What?
waiting for whichever episode like fully says this is Gandalf and Saruman because I'm petty.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just very generous, but I
No,
really
I'm
like
just trying to make you laugh because you know, come on, I'm on a mission.
I
Elrond's
know.
on a mission. I'm on a mission to prove the people that want to argue with me, no, that's who these people are, and I'm going to die on that hill. As always, it's Amanda here to say thank you to all of our listeners and to ask that if you liked this week's episode, leave us an honest rating. And if you'd like to continue the discussion, please feel free to comment on our post over at our Girls Nerd Out podcast account on Instagram. If you're interested in buying any of our merch to support the podcast and so that we can continue to release weekly episodes, then check it out over at girlsnerdoutpodcast.com. Our podcast logo was designed by Chairman Bilal over on Fiverr. Our podcast merch was put together by me, myself, and I at Southern Mother of Dragons on all social media. If you're interested in my personal merch, check it out at southernmotherofdragons.com. And the designs for that merch were put together by Ryuchi Studios on Etsy after an in-depth back and forth discussion with me to find the perfect merch for me and my loyal supporters. The music played while I tell you about all the ways you can support us and the production of the podcast is Kawaii Girl by Pumpkin Pie. Thanks for listening.
Hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda. And you just listened to
Girls Nerd Out.